My name is Pushan Dutt. I'm a professor of economics at INSEAD. I've been at INSEAD since 2004 and I've been in Singapore for about 13 years now. I've seen this region grow and develop. My specialities are economic development, economic growth, and international trade, which are sort of topics which are very dear to the countries in this region. So it was a great pleasure to come here and sort of share a bit of my research, a bit of my thoughts on these issues. The key concept that I was talking about is essentially the long-term growth prospects of this region. So this is the region where we've seen many Asian tigers which have grown fast and are richer than the US today. The question from ASEAN's perspective is, what about the rest of the countries? So can all countries within ASEAN or other countries in the region pull off a Singapore, become like Singapore, which is sustained growth rates for 30, 40 years and become rich? The way I did the talk was I essentially talked about the different challenges faced by different countries at different levels of development. So Singapore faces very different challenges. It faces challenges in terms of investment. Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, they need to worry about attracting investment on a sustained basis, working on fundamental governance questions, and the emerging markets like Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam need to work on just improving their environment for doing business, just making it easier to do business in these countries. It is unique in the sense that, as you said, that they are at different levels of development. Okay, they are vastly different in terms of levels of development, in terms of size. But at the same time, most of the growth in the next 50 years will come from this region, will come from some of these countries, and if you add India and China to the mix, the opportunities in this region, the opportunities for ASEAN are very, very big. The fact that they're diverse might be challenging, but this also creates an opportunity. So if I think about it, one of the biggest challenges that countries face is in, improving their governance, building good legal systems, good political systems. These are issues on which Singapore has a competitive advantage. They know how to do this. So ASEAN right now is more about exports, imports, sharing of capital, moving capital across borders. But ASEAN over time, I would see this moving in terms of moving expertise across borders, moving knowledge across borders. And that's where there are tremendous opportunities to be had. The CLMV countries essentially have a model to follow, which is the China model, which is the Singapore model in the 60s, the Japan model in the 50s, which is essentially, make sure that you get a lot of investment on a sustained basis over long periods of time. You move people out of farms into factories, slowly climb up the value chain and get into more skill-intensive industries. This is something which countries in this region have done, so they should be able to learn from them. The key learning here is that you actually get a lot of bang from the buck through very simple reforms. If you just make it easy to start businesses, deepen credit markets, have secure property rights, have predictable policies, then you're going to be able to attract investment and get up to a middle income country, get up to like a Thailand standard or even like a Malaysia standard. After that, the challenges become much harder. The millennials essentially give a massive demographic advantage to all these countries. But you have to take advantage of you have to leverage this demographic advantage, which means it's also crucial that you provide jobs for them, that you provide good education for them. And again, you don't have to do a whole lot. You have to provide them with basic education and basic levels of skills, and over time upskill them. There is also a risk. The risk is that if these countries fail to do so, then having a lot of young people who do not have jobs leads to massive political instability. We saw that during the Arab Spring. We see that a little bit in France today, where the young are completely disillusioned because they don't have good jobs. Youth unemployment rates are very high in parts of Europe, and this is leading to the rise of far-right parties. So it is an opportunity, but that opportunity has to be realized, and there has to be a laser-like focus on making sure there is investment and growth and jobs coming in. platforms like this are especially useful for facilitating the knowledge flows which I just spoke about. These are harder to measure, but these are extremely important. Business to business ties are one of the best ways for businesses to expand into borders. Using networks is a very important way for businesses to expand across borders. This is especially important for Singapore because Singapore is a small country and it really needs to expand into other countries within ASEAN and broadly into India, China, and across the region. And forums like these are very, very useful to facilitate this expansion. It depends on political things. It depends on macroeconomic trends and things like that. But just overall, I'm still very, very positive and optimistic about Asia, about ASEAN, and about countries in this region.